What's going on, everyone? The Phoenix Suns are in a very interesting situation, and what I believe is just a bad day away from absolutely imploding. I just think that they've had just so much going on this offseason. DeAndre Ayton clearly does not want to be there. You got Jay Crowder, who he wants to be out. They lose to the 36ers, although I don't want to put too much into that just because, it's preseason. It's not a huge deal. But given all of the circumstances that happened, that's why I think that is sort of at least something that is interesting, right? It's one of the red flags to look out for. And I just think as soon as DeAndre Ayton is ready to be traded, you're going to start hearing all kinds of just trade rumors, speculation, DeAndre Ayton probably requesting out, all of that stuff. I just think it's just at this point, the Suns need to switch it up. The Suns need to change it, right? I think their window for a title is closing. They need a fresh start. They need to kind of hit a reboot, a reset. And I saw a trade that I wanted to share with you all and hear your thoughts and opinions. Now, obviously, if this trade ever was to materialize, I wouldn't be able to happen until like December, January at the earliest. But I do think it's kind of interesting for both sides in this trade. And here is that. So it's DeAndre Ayton going to the Chicago Bulls, but also with Chris Paul. Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton go to Chicago, right? And then the Phoenix Suns would receive Nikola Vucevic, Patrick Williams, Alex Caruso, Dalen Terry, Kobe White, Derrick Jones Jr., and 3 first-round picks, likely unprotected. So you have that. You're getting quite a haul for the Phoenix perspective, and you're unloading Chris Paul's contract, and you're moving off of DeAndre Ayton. Now, as far as the Chicago Bulls side of this, let's start there. Now, you're adding Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton to Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. That is really good. Now, obviously, Chris Paul, age and injury concern is a big thing, but Chicago's trying to be in a position of win now. There's just a lot of issues going on with Lonzo Ball. And Chicago's another team to really look out for. Chicago might be a team that just blows it up this season too, just because, Lonzo's not going to be able to play. How good are they? I don't think they're very good. I think they're a middle of the pack team. I think there's at least 5, if not 6 teams that are better than Chicago. But you add Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton, I think that changes the conversation drastically. I think you get a point guard that would fit in beautifully with these 3 guys. You get a real distributor, which was the whole idea of Lonzo Ball. But now you could have Lonzo play, the backup point guard role. You don't have to rush him back to play and stuff. You can kind of let him sort of marinate, get back to the swing of things, and then have him be, so you always have a guard of like a distributing type of guard. Also, you get just Chris Paul's just IQ, his ability to score, stuff like that. With DeMar and LaVine, I think you got your 2 scorers, right? Like the Phoenix Suns have Devin Booker. You got LaVine and you got DeMar. And then you got your center, your young center down low that you could also build on and around for the future. Adding DeAndre Ayton, you get that center. You're getting basically the same production you were getting from Vu, and I think that is solid there. But he's also younger, a building block for the future. Chris Paul's impact to this team and just veteran leadership and just being able to control games, I think, is just invaluable. It's something that can't really truly measure. Health would be a concern for me, because I think, again, if Chris Paul goes down, I think this team is a mess. But same thing with the Phoenix Suns. If Chris Paul goes down, Phoenix is a mess. Same thing with Lonzo Ball. Even Chicago as currently constructed, I don't think is as good without a Lonzo Ball, because they need that guy that can be the distributor, that doesn't care about having to get 20 points. DeMar's going to want his shots, LaVine's going to want his shots, Ayton's going to want his shots. Somebody's got to be the one that doesn't take the shots. And that was the beauty of Lonzo, is Lonzo doesn't really care if he puts up 10 shots a game, or 20 shots a game, or he scores at all. He's willing to just distribute, get guys involved, hit them in their spots, stuff like that. And that's what you'd get from Chris Paul. But you'd also get a guy in Chris Paul who can score and light it up if need be. You get a Chris Paul that can come in and just hit it from pretty much anywhere on the court. And if you need a 10-point spurt, he can get it for you. Stuff like that. I just think that this makes Chicago a much better team than already currently constructed. It is kind of similar to the way that they're already constructed, but I think Ayton is better than Vucevic, and I think that Chris Paul, I mean, he's light years away from Lonzo Ball. So I think that this would be an upgraded version of the current Bulls team, which I do think would upgrade them in the standings and make them much better if they're healthy. Now, from the Phoenix side, I wanted to break down the players. So you're getting a solid replacement at center who is also a free agent. So the biggest thing I think of value for the Phoenix Suns in this trade, if it was to happen, is the flexibility they get. They move off of Chris Paul's contract. They, move off of Ayton. They get 3 first-round picks, which will likely be unprotected. They could probably even get a couple seconds or something like that in it. But you get several first-round picks. You get a center to replace Ayton that you can just let walk, or you can re-sign him and for a much cheaper, smaller deal. You clear up cap flexibility. Cam Johnson is very likely going to be thrusted into a bigger role regardless. And now Chris Paul's role is kind of by committee, right? So instead of Chris Paul just kind of being the orchestrator, you already have some depth, but you're also adding Alex Caruso who can kind of, play that need. Kobe White is more of like a scoring point guard than a true point guard like Chris Paul is. But again, most of these guys are free agents. You get a young, promising forward in Patrick Williams. Patrick Williams could turn out to be real nice. He showed some nice spurts, some nice moments. Derrick Jones Jr. gives you some depth on the wing. Dalen Terry, he may or may not be something, and then Kobe White, he's a guy that, again, it gives you some scoring punch off the bench. He could be a key sort of contributor. But most of these guys, you could just let go, waive, buy out, whatever you wanted to do. The factor here is you're moving off of Chris Paul's long money, and you're getting a bunch of first-round picks for it. You're getting a young forward in Patrick Williams. You're getting what could be a solid role player and contributor in Alex Caruso. You're getting a potential 6-man scorer in Kobe White. You could do worse. I do, because the thing is, you may be able to do a swap for Ayton, right? There are teams that would take Ayton just because of his age. But how many teams are giving you, an insane return? Especially knowing that you pretty much need to move off Ayton at this point. So the value isn't going to be there. But a team like Chicago getting Chris Paul actually does make sense for them because their guys are older. DeMar's 33. He's only going to get older. The Chicago's more in win now, right? Most teams that are willing to take on Ayton are probably going to be either young teams on the come up. That's why Indiana was a team that wanted him and were willing to swap Miles Turner, stuff like that. But do you really want Miles Turner and him, all his injury proneness and stuff like that? I do think he'd be a great contributor, but you have Chris Paul, you have Turner, that's your center and your point guard both could be out come playoff time, and now you're in shambles. Where this I think would give the Suns more depth, right? Yes, you don't have Chris Paul, which kind of hurts, but I think you can make up some of his production. I do think Chris Paul, again, has those immeasurable things about him. Just being able to control the game, things like that. But his age and stuff is a real concern. And Phoenix, I just don't believe is a real contender. I don't. And I just think that this would be a great way to kind of give them a reset button to kind of build around Booker, Johnson, and Bridges. You could keep Vu if you want to. Or you could let him go. You got some cap flexibility to have some cap space the following season. You got a bunch of assets that you could use to go trade. You could even take those 3 firsts along with a Kobe White and maybe even Vu, and you could basically take that same package if you want to do, and maybe go get somebody else to kind of replace Chris Paul or something in the near future. Especially in the NBA we live in, where it's such player mobility and guys every couple months want out. There could be something on the horizon for the Suns. It's just something interesting. I thought that this was a very fascinating trade, and I wanted to bring it up and just see what y'all thought. See what you guys think. Do you like this trade? Do you hate the trade? How do you feel? Do you think this would be great for the Suns? Do you think this would be great for Chicago? Do you think one team wins more than the other? Which team do you think says no? I think the Suns are going to implode this season. I think with them imploding, I think they're going to have to really start looking at, like, what do we want to do? Now, in all reality, they may not want to do a trade until a new owner buys the team. That happens a lot too. But I think if you can get a good deal that makes you better and more flexible for the future, I think you got to. Like, because the Phoenix Suns might really need a hard reset in the next, like, after this season or at some point this season, especially if they're like the 6th seed, which I think is a real possibility. What do you do? What do you do? I think their window's closed. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Do you think this trade makes sense for the Suns? I mean, you still have Devin Booker, Bridges, Cam Johnson, you'd have Vu, you'd have Caruso, you'd have Kobe, you'd have Patrick Williams, you'd have depth, plus all the guys you currently have. I just think that this would make the Suns a deeper team. I think you'd have a lot. Again, Chris Paul adds so much to this team, but I think you could go a different direction. Monty, I think, would have fun with this team. But anyway, again, however you feel about it, whatever your thoughts and opinions are, good, bad, ugly, somewhere in between, love to hear them. Let me know. Quick little shameless plug, go subscribe to my second channel, link down in the description below. As it stands, Lakers, I am a diehard Laker fan. I love talking Lakers. I could talk Lakers all day, just like I could talk about all sports all day. And I'm sure many of you watching to this point enjoy my commentary, enjoy these discussions. So go check out the Lakers channel. Even if you're not a Laker fan and you just like hearing me talk about stuff in basketball, go over there and subscribe. I'll link down in the description below. I promise you won't be disappointed. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.